Vermont at the Northeast Valley in Scottsdale. I really want to thank everyone, and I want to thank the pastor for inviting me. These are times of thanksgiving, of gratitude, and of showing our thankfulness and gratefulness to God Almighty. Let me share with you a story. A man came to a Muslim scholar, and he was complaining. He was in need. He says, I don't have this, I don't have that. I'm in need of this and that. So the scholar asked him, he said, let's do the following. Why don't we go ahead and trade your eyesight with 100,000 pounds? You give me your eyesight, and I'll give you 100,000 pounds. And the man says, no, of course not. I cannot give my eyesight away. It's so precious. And then the scholar asked him, well, why don't we trade your hands for 100,000 pounds? And then the man again thought to himself and said, wow, my hands, I cannot live without my hands. They're so important. I use them everywhere, anywhere I go. And then he kept asking him, what about your feet? What about your hearing? And so forth. And before you know it, the scholar told him, you don't realize it, but you have hundreds of thousands of pounds. And you come to me complaining. A lot of times we take bounties for granted. We take those blessings and favors from God. We take them for granted. We don't think about it much. And one thing that helps us remember the bounties of God is to try and think of them. In fact, there's a verse in the Quran that encourages us to count the bounties of God. And it tells us we're not going to be able to count all of them because there's so many. We don't even realize how many bounties we have. And one thing about being rich, because a lot of people want to be rich, want to be from the rich and famous. There's one essential thing to understand about being rich. And this is a narration from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He said that being rich is not really having lots of belongings, lots of money, lots of wealth, lots of property. He said wealth is inside. Anytime you're satisfied with what you have, even if it is a little, then you are rich. Because in reality, when you think about it, anyone who's in need is poor. It doesn't matter how much you have. And anyone who is satisfied and he's not in need, he's not looking around and seeing who's more fortunate and wishing that they're like them, then you are really satisfied with what God has given you, and you are really rich. And this is why we have another tradition that says, do not look at the people who are more fortunate than you. Look at the people who are less fortunate than you. Because then you're not going to belittle the bounties of God upon you. And this is what happens to many of us. We end up belittling the bounties of God, no matter how great they are. We think they're not enough. Why? Because we're looking at the people who are more fortunate, the rich and famous. Oh, he has a house bigger than my house. He has a car newer than my car. He's eating food that's fancier than my food. But if you look at the people below you, the people who are less fortunate, the people who don't have houses, the people that cannot afford meat every day, the people that cannot drink clean water, they don't have clean water to drink, then you start appreciating the bounties of God upon you. You look around, you look in Africa, you look now in Syria, we see children forced out of their villages, out of their houses. They're refugees, and nobody cares. These people are less fortunate than us, but we don't think about it much. And this is why we end up, belittling the bounties of God upon us. There's another tradition that says that if you wake up in the morning, and you have a roof above your head, and you are healthy, you're not sick, you're not ill, you don't have any pain, and you are You have enough food for a day. So these are basic blessings, right? We don't think about, we take for granted. You know, food enough for a day. Nowadays we stock for years. And the minute you think your pantry is not full enough, you rush to the grocery store because you get scared. Oh, I'm not going to have enough food for another month. As if a hurricane is coming at you at the moment. And I mean, we go paranoid at these things. If you have enough food for a day, a roof above your head, you feel secure, you feel safe, and you are healthy, it's as if you have acquired the whole world. These are basic bounties, blessings that we don't think about much. So I hope this Thanksgiving, we revisit the concept of gratitude, of gratefulness. Because we have a lot to thank for. We just don't think of it, we're not aware of it. Or we don't ponder upon it. We don't, we have to use our intellect. Sometimes, if you don't sit down and think about it, you're not going to be able to count those bounties. So train yourself to sit down on a regular basis and think of those bounties. Write them down. And the minute you start doing that, you're going to think of many more bounties you've never thought of before. Think of the small things, the small little things that we don't think of usually. Because once you start thinking of the small little bounties that each and every one of us has, because I tell you, each one of you is special. And God blesses each and every one of us in a different way. And those small little bounties we have, they are different from others, from other people, and what they have. Those will make you appreciative and will make you grateful for God and all His blessings. Thank you very much.